This is the HTC Droid DNA from Repair's Universe. First up, we're going to want to do is remove the SIM card tray. To do this, we're going to use a paper clip and press in the small hole, ejecting the SIM card. From there, we're going to use a safe open pry tool. We're going to start near this USB port right here. We're going to gently pry it away from the front assembly. With a little bit of pressure, we then have access to releasing some of the clips holding the back cover in place. We're just going to want to work around the outside edges here, releasing all the clips. Start on one side and then move to the other. Once all the clips are released, we can then remove the back cover. Once we have the back cover removed, we're then going to use a safe open pry tool and gently lift up this black tape covering the motherboard. It should peel off fairly easily. Just take your time to make sure it doesn't rip. With the motherboard now fully exposed, we're going to use a small Phillips screwdriver to remove the 13 small Phillips screws located throughout the motherboard. Now that we have all the screws removed, we now have 13 connections we're going to release from the motherboard. We're going to start near the top right and work our way down. The first thing we're going to release here is a small antenna connector. These are simple pop connectors that can be lifted using a safe open pry tool. We're going to release the first one on the right, and then one on the left of the camera. Once that is done, we're going to begin releasing some of these jaw connectors located on the left of the motherboard. There will also be an antenna connector there and the main pop connector. To release the jaw clips, simply release the back clip holding the jaw connector and then release the flex cable. Once that is done, we're going to work on the right side here, releasing that main pop connector and two more jaw connectors. And lastly, we're going to remove this battery connector. From there, we'll then be able to lift up the motherboard. We're now going to use our safe open pry tool to gently lift away the front camera from the housing. Once that is done, we're going to lift away this small plastic piece covering the power button flex cable. With the cover released, we can then use our pry tool to gently lift up on the cable, being careful not to rip the very small flex cable it's attached to. Once we have that done, the upper part of the motherboard with the camera can then be removed. We're now going to use our pry tool to gently lift away the speaker assembly located at the bottom. This is simply held in place with a few clips. Using a little bit of pressure, it should pop right out. We're now ready to begin removing the battery. You want to be very careful at this point because the battery is held in with very strong adhesive. You're going to want to work your way around the top and bottom of the battery, attempting to release as much adhesive as possible without actually bending the battery. Take your time doing this and work your way from all sides, attempting to release all the adhesive. We found using a second pry tool at this point is very helpful as it applies more pressure to the battery. Once the adhesive is released, we can then remove the battery.